alaikum and welcome to Titli's Busy Kitchen with me, Titli. Battenberg cake has a very interesting history. It's a very traditional English cake invented sometime around the end of the 19th century to celebrate the yada yada yada. Let's just make the cake already. I've got 175 grams of butter at room temperature cut into little pieces. Pieces are good. 175 grams of caster sugar. I'm using golden caster sugar, but quite frankly, nobody cares. 175 grams of self-raising flour, 3 eggs, a couple of tablespoons of apricot glaze, or you can use apricot jam that's been heated and sieved, some red or pink food colouring, a teaspoon of vanilla essence, and a tin of mushroom soup. This isn't actually part of the recipe, but in the spirit of sharing, I thought I'd let you know what I was going to have for lunch. But what I do need for the recipe is a 500 gram block of marzipan. Oh, paranitritoluene. That takes me back. So the first thing we'll do is cream together the butter and the sugar. Creamy goodness. Now break the eggs into a bowl, add in the vanilla essence and whisk everything together. A whisk away, a whisk away, a whisk away, a whisk away. In the kitchen, the busy kitchen, the Titli bakes tonight. Oh, the kitchen. Now add half the egg into the mixture. Then when it's mixed, sieve in half the flour. Then the remaining egg. And sieve in the last of the flour. Nice. So what we have here is an 8-inch square baking tin. I've lightly greased it and I'm going to line it with baking paper. Now you might reasonably ask, why have I greased it if I'm lining it with baking paper? And it's quite simple. It helps the paper to stick in place. Now I've also made this funky divider out of baking foil. I'll just put this down the centre of the tin. This is going to help me to bake both sides of the cake at once. Now I'll put one half of the mixture into one half of the cake tin. Spread it out into the tin. And into this half, I'm going to add a few drops of red food colour. Then whisk it in. Oh, delicious pinky goodness. Then scoop it into the other half of the cake tin. Then spread that out too. Now we'll bake this in the oven at 170 degrees C for about 25 to 30 minutes. Now leave to cool. Once it's cooled, we can remove it from the cake tin. So I've now got a pink sponge and a yellow sponge. I'm just going to trim this, cutting off as little as I need to make the edges square. Now I've trimmed my cakes into nice, neat oblongs. I'm just going to place one on top of the other, and then I'll cut both cakes right down the middle. Now turn one of the squares onto its side and brush some melted apricot glaze along the edge. This is going to help things to stick together. Put it back on its base and push one of the other coloured squares against it. Now brush the top with glaze or jam, whichever you're using. Stick one of the colours over the other. Just press it into place. Then put some glaze along the edge here. And put the final piece on the top. So now I've got a nice checkerboard pattern with my cake. Sprinkle some icing sugar onto a flat surface. Then roll out the marzipan to about 4 or 5 millimetres thick. Now I'll brush a line of apricot glaze across the middle of this. Then I'll slide the cake onto the marzipan. Saves having to pick it up. A bit dropped off, it's alright. Stick it on there. Now a bit of apricot glaze down the side here. And on this side. Then I'll pull up the two sides. Then lift up this side. Make sure it's nice and firm. Then I'm going to trim the marzipan along the top here just to give a small seam. Push these two edges together. Then trim away the excess very carefully. Smooth out any gaps. Now carefully turn the whole lot onto the other side. If it gets stuck, take a spatula and run it along underneath very carefully. Then trim the ends so they're nice and neat. I'm going to rescue these tiny bits of cake and also rescue the marzipan, so I can make some marzipan animals with it. Do the other end. Now pop the cake onto a serving board or serving plate, whatever you want to do. Make a bit of a crisscross pattern in the top. This is apparently quite traditional. And then dust with icing sugar. Delightful Battenberg cake, perfect with a cup of tea. Oh, I've forgotten something. The marzipan cat. So never mind the history, just eat the cake. Join me next time in Titli's busy kitchen with me, Titli. Until next time, Khuda Hafiz.